Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're zoning in on understanding the latest direction shared directly by Mufareh, the CEO of OnPassive.
That's right. We've got his recent updates, and the goal really is to try and cut through any, potential noise.
Exactly. Get to the heart of his vision for what he's calling the next chapter, and importantly, what this thing isn't.
And also maybe his take on the journey so far. Let's jump right in.
Okay, so first off, what really jumps out is how Mufareh tackles assumptions head-on, defining what this next chapter won't be.
Yeah, he's very direct about that. The first really crucial point he makes, it's absolutely not on OnPassive 2.0.
Not 2.0. Okay, so that signals, well, something fundamentally new, doesn't it? Not just an upgrade.
Precisely. It suggests maybe a totally different set of goals, or perhaps using that existing community very differently.
So if you've been following OnPassive, this distinction is key.
It seems like a deliberate move to, maybe address past issues or perceptions in a completely fresh way.
And he builds on that, right?
Yeah.
Saying it's not some kind of money-making Ponzi or get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah, he tackles that skepticism directly. It feels like he's trying to preempt any criticism about the financial model, whatever it might be.
Right, setting a different tone. And then he adds, it's not a refurbished product either.
Meaning it's not just old ideas repackaged, it's presented as, entirely new by design.
Which brings us to the structure, doesn't it? He was very explicit here.
Oh, absolutely. No multi-level marketing MLM, no matrix, no binary structures. That's a significant statement.
It really is. Rejecting those models seems like a clear attempt to distance this new thing from, the baggage sometimes associated with them.
Yeah.
Regulatory issues, reputation.
Exactly. He's drawing a very clear line in the sand there.
And he keeps going. It's not a passive income program, he says, and not just OnPassive with a new name.
He's really hammering home how distinct this next chapter is supposed to be.
But then comes what may be the most surprising part.
I think so. The statement that nothing from OnPassive is in the next chapter, that's a complete break.
It is a powerful statement, yeah. And he lists it out. No employees, no offices, no devices, not even code or images or website.
Total separation. A clean slate, truly. No tangible assets carried over.
You have to let that sink in. Why such a radical separation? What do you think the core reason is?
Well, it strongly suggests a desire to build something completely independent. Maybe learning from the past, definitely, but without being tied down by, the old infrastructure or maybe even old perceptions.
Okay, so if this next chapter is totally separate, what about OnPassive itself? People will obviously ask that.
And he addresses it. He confirms OnPassive is not shutting down. It keeps operating.
Right, it continues. But he does acknowledge the ongoing stuff, the SEC settlement.
Yes, he mentions the SEC settlement and that there are still pending cases and other things to resolve. Assures updates will come through the usual channels.
But he pivots pretty quickly from that, doesn't he? Back to the future.
Very much so. A strong focus on moving forward, not dwelling on negativity. He talks about focusing on productive work, making an impact.
Which, for anyone following closely, is probably a key message they wanted to hear. Focus on what's next.
But it does raise the question, okay, if it's so separate, why the confidence it'll be more successful this time?
And he points to experience, right? Calls them very expensive lessons.
Very expensive lessons. That's quite an admission. It suggests they learned things the hard way.
Yeah, it implies significant challenges were faced operationally, structurally, maybe regulatory navigation. It frames those past issues as learning opportunities.
It's likely a mix of things. Avoiding MLM suggests lessons in structure or regulation, perhaps, but he also highlights a major asset they have now.
It is.
A much bigger base of what he calls committed, loyal, intelligent, sharp leaders, compared to, say, 5 or 6 years ago.
So the network.
Yeah.
The established trust within that community. That's position is a huge advantage.
Absolutely. He even puts a number on it, hundreds of thousands of people involved. So it's not starting from scratch. There's a massive foundation already there.
And a global one, too, reaching tons of countries.
That global network gives them a significant head start, in terms of reach. There's this sense of collective drive he talks about.
Together is nothing we cannot achieve. That kind of sentiment. Belief in a shared goal.
Right. Shared desire, shared belief. But he also mentions a change in strategy, operating more quietly now.
Yeah, the decision to be more discreet. Why? To avoid attracting the wrong people, he says. And he used that that analogy.
The naked chicken dancing in front of a fox, it's memorable, certainly.
It definitely paints a picture. What's the core message there, do you think?
Well, it clearly underscores learning about the risks of showing your hand too early, attracting unwanted attention. He even mentions criminals in house previously.
So a more cautious approach. Keep things under wraps until there's real success to point to. Makes sense strategically, I suppose.
Seems to be the plan. Lay low, build strong, then reveal.
Okay, so when do people get more details? What's the timeline look like for this next chapter info?
He mentioned tentatively scheduling an Arabic webinar soon, and then periodic sessions after that. But people need to check the back office for actual dates.
Right, the back office is the source for updates, but he also manages expectations, yeah.
He reiterates there are still steps to complete before they spill all the beans, so patience is still needed.
But the final word is quite affirmative.
Very. OnPassive is not going anywhere. It's building on everything good and bad experiences towards something he sees as stronger, better, way bigger.
Okay, so let's quickly recap for everyone listening. The main takeaways from Mufareh. This next chapter is presented as completely new.
Totally distinct from OnPassive. No shared resources, infrastructure, nothing. It's designed differently, seemingly learning from past experiences and avoiding certain models.
And it's being built on that large existing global community network. That's seen as a major strength.
Plus, there's that deliberate strategic shift, operating more quietly, more discreetly, until they feel they've achieved something solid. That's clearly a lesson learned.
Right. So this deep dive leaves us with something to chew on, I think. Consider what it really means to build something brand new, but not from absolute zero.
Yeah, starting fresh, but with this huge advantage of lessons learned, even the expensive ones, and this massive established global network.
What unique benefits does that bring? But also, what unique challenges might come with that kind of foundation? Starting over, but with history.
It's definitely something to reflect on. The dynamics are quite different from a typical startup.
Indeed. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.